Hi students, welcome to this video. This video will help prepare you for the first online quiz that we're going to take. The primary focus of the online quiz is to get you ready to do pre-class work. It's obviously work that you'll be done before class, but it's in connection when we have small team activities. If you look at the syllabus, you'll find out that the majority of the days we'll be working in small teams. And so there'll be some things that you want to do before you come to class for those small teams. And so we're going to help you understand that. So a couple of things. First of all, what are small teams? Well, again, groups of 3 or 4 students working together to learn some material. So typically in the classroom in RAP 200, we're going to move desk around, and so you'll have 4 people, 3 or 4 people facing one another. And you'll work collectively as a group to finish the task. And this will be a way of learning the material. What we found is that research has found, Geneva here, but then also nationally, is that you typically cover a little less material, but you learn more deeply. And you really get at a lot of the key concepts that you really need to understand not only biochemistry, but other biology and chemistry subjects. All right, so we see that. So then this active learning, what we mean by that is, again, instead of me typically lecturing, there's going to be a prepared class activity, either a handout or there'll be a book with some more activities in it that you'll complete during the class. All right, so it'll be really structured and high-end in that sense as opposed to just lecturing. All right, so by the way, the high-structure sort of classroom approach that I use is known as POGIL, and that is P-O-G-I-L, and that stands for Process-Oriented Guided Inquiry Learning. And so this is one approach, and it's not something that I came up with. It's been developed over the last 30 years using a lot of research-based evidence, and then also a lot of instructors giving input to how this should be done and the actual activities. All right, so we'll prepare for that. So first, a little bit about what you're going to need for the quiz. You're going to need 4 basic materials. One, you want to get the syllabus that I handed out in class. This will be important, particularly the schedule that's on the back 2 pages. You'll also want the pre-class activity that you will turn in Monday, September 2nd. Again, I gave this out in class. There will be a question or 2 about that. You'll need what I call the Foundations of Biochemistry, often referred to as FOB. You'll need that. And then you'll need your Leninger's textbook. All right, so grab these. You'll have the syllabus and the pre-class activity from class. And again, if you're still waiting your textbook, you can always borrow a friend's to look at it, but you'll want that for the quiz. Now, a little bit more of why. I use the small team approach. All right, so it's a little bit less typical, although we do some group work, but you think about most of your biology and chemistry and psychology and math classes, they're often done more lecture-wise. There are some, say for instance, calculus at Geneva, which is a little more interactive. All right, so why? Well, again, we don't cover as much material, but we found that really we get to more in-depth learning, and also particularly in this POGIL approach, we do a little more critical thinking, information processing, and also communicating with others. Right? So those are outcomes of the course as well. So to be a good scientist, you just don't memorize facts, but you actually need to apply it. You take the facts and apply it to problems, solve problems. Whether you're a scientist working in a lab, or if you want to be a medical doctor, whatever that would be, you need to actually solve problems. And we really think that this POGIL approach, this small team activity approach, helps. All right, so what are some of the data leading to this? Well, one, Scott Freeman is a biology instructor at University of Washington in Washington State, and he teaches classes of 300 or more. And he's been doing this small team approach since about 2000. And before he did the small team approach, he was doing these same lectures at Washington during a typical lecture style. Once he transitioned to the active learning, he saw overall that all students increased their grades in terms of their exam grades about 3%. All right, so that's just everybody in the class went up, performed better on approximately the same types of exams. Students who struggled in high school and really had some backgrounds where they were struggle, their grades went up about 6%. All right, so 3% for the whole class. That means class average was 85. It went up to 88. All right, so as a whole class. And then again, the struggling students really increased more, and that's really what we've seen. So again, Scott Freeman teaches to groups of about 300 here at Geneva. It's much smaller, about 20 or so. But I found that to be the case here at Geneva. In fact, I've worked with a colleague, Tracy Murray, who is at Capital University in Columbus, and we've done some research about how students are doing a pre-test and a post-test. You'll know a little bit about that. And what we've seen is that really good improvements. For instance, A couple of the key concepts in biochemistry is the alpha helical nature of proteins and also pKa values. I mean, you've learned about pKa's in other chemistry classes. By the time students complete biochemistry here at Geneva, 80 to 100% have mastered those two topics, or those two concepts. Around the country, it's 40% or less. All right, so again, we've seen sort of the same increase in grades. All right, and so again, the small group activities, we'll be doing a lot of those. I'll talk to you a little bit more about those. It'll be primarily the part of the big part of the class. And not only do I feel like it's helpful just on these pre-post tests, but students also who've gone on to medical school and dental school and gone to research labs have written back and said, hey, this really did help. I really now can apply this particular knowledge. And so those students have found it, but then also it helps them on the GRE and the MCAT test as well. All right, so let's go and prepare to take this first quiz.